Listening is not a displacement for leadership. You have to have leadership, but you have to listen to. Look, technology companies are technology companies. Building technology. There's not many ways that you can do it, right? You build a good engineering culture. You build a good product development culture, and you interface those. You focus on interfacing those very well. So the real notion is to come up with solid design models with your community. So what you need is a design model, right? That's what we build stuff off of. In a lot of cases, engineers build their own design models. They go off, they build their community, and that's what it is. What I do is I make sure that our company internally takes a lot of feedback and a lot of input and takes a lot of the posts from the community and staples them to the pre-customer work, the spec work, the interface work, and by the time it gets into development, the community's voice has been heard on that product, and we can prove it. We can show this common thread and this common thread and this forum thread and this particular deviation that was submitted that suggested that we do this and suggested that we do that. And this is not something that is unique to DeviantArt. Any community can have an area where you can interface with its staff and just submit ideas. Hey, submit to us drawings of what you want the interface to look like. Submit to us specific suggestions for how you should improve this. In the early days, how you conceptualize your community is not necessarily how people want to use your community. And you want to support the use cases that make this thing grow, right? The early days are the most important in that. So directly, one of the first things you should do is say, hey, our community does this, and hey, to help us do it better, submit to us whatever you'd like, documentation, emails, drawings, Communities are not yours. They're the people who you support. They don't belong to you. They belong to the community. That's what you're building. You're not building something that's yours. You're building something that belongs to the people. So you'd be lucky if they turn to you as their technologists, as their enablers. If you have 3 people visiting your website, they may not give you any feedback. But for them to know that they can is going to increase the likelihood that they come back to you a lot. Yeah, people look at communities and they go, it's a bunch of software, right? They go, oh, well, DeviantArt, it has comment threading and it has submission engines, and, if we just built the submission engines and the comment engines and all that kind of stuff, then we would have DeviantArt. No, that's not the case. You could build every single feature we've got. You can launch it to the public. DeviantArt had very few features when it started, and every single feature we've added, we've done so because somebody asked us. We give credit back to the community for those modifications. Those people feel ownership over DeviantArt. You talk to somebody about changing DeviantArt, and they don't think about DeviantArt when they talk to us as if it's something that is our thing that we're changing. They get angry when we change it because it's their thing that we've changed, and they get angry that every time we launch a feature, people yell at us, right? We have to have great leadership and great confidence to know that we're making the right decisions in our change, but we're always going to get flack because DeviantArt does not belong to us. So turn that on day one when you start your community, because if you're doing your job right, your community should never belong to you. Our business model evolves with time. Right now, we have ads. We sell advertising. We do that with network support, so we use networks, 15, 20 of them. We also have a direct sales team where we sell specific sponsorships and opportunities directly to sponsors. So that makes up the advertising bit. We have a subscription model, which allows members to buy into our subscription package to get upgraded features and make the interface cleaner and access more modules on their user pages. Basically get more out of DeviantArt than the free version. We have a reproduction service for prints, so artists can make their work available for sale, and we help them to distribute and sell them through our facility in Atlanta, and Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. And then we have our retail business outside of the prints, which is DeviantWare, which is our apparel business, which we're expanding more into a DeviantArt store so that we can stock other art-related supplies and objects, Wacom tablets and things that artists and art enthusiasts want to buy. Well, the reality is, like, I'll give you an example. When we launched our print service, we launched it at daprints.com, and in the beginning, people were very upset that we had a print service because they felt like DeviantArt was going to commercialize and this sort of thing, and we got a lot of energy around that whole concept, right? But we knew in the end that a prints business is good for artists because artists will have a way to make some money, and that's it would also be a way to make DeviantArt more accessible to people who aren't artists. It'll be something where they can come and buy art. So this is valuable for everybody. So over time, what happens is your community of artists who, when you first release the prints feature, you have no print artists. Over time, you have many, many prints artists. Over time, those prints artists start saying things like, can you get the prints features to be a little closer to the community? Why do you have it all the way over there at daprints.com? You guys are idiots, right? And we're like, well, we could make it so that it's a little bit closer. Would that be okay with you? And they say, yeah, sure. So eventually, over time, it becomes more and more integrated with the DeviantArt service. But you don't get ahead of your community. You evolve with your community. You build support for things you want to do. I want to build an art stock business at DeviantArt, or I want to build maybe a marketplace at DeviantArt. Nobody asked me to do that necessarily. Some people have at this point. But first, I'm going to enable it in a way that's not prominent in the services. DeviantArt's going to continue to be DeviantArt, and then as people start using the marketplace, they'll speak up for that product and that feature. They will tell us that they want it to have a higher prominence. And so when some members of the community say, hey, you're selling out, this is selling out, we don't have to fight the fight. This whole demographic of people who are also artists go and say, no, this is cool, man, I need this thing. Right? And then it's an argument from one segment of your community and the other segment of the community, and DeviantArt's just hosting it, right? We're there, and we're like, okay, well, it sounds to me like there's a very specific need in the arts for this type of a service, and who's going to argue with that? We let the community decide. We lead with what we think everybody's saying. We accumulate what everybody's saying. We accumulate what we know about the community. We have vision. We want to do very specific things, but we don't smack that vision down on people. You show them a little bit of it, and then they start getting interest. Every single business within a community is a startup unto itself. DeviantArt didn't take any money for 7 years straight. There was a lot of suffering involved. That's what it takes to build a company. You don't have the guts for it, you're not going to make it anyway. I can't sugarcoat it for you. There's no way around it. Sometimes you're going to eat tuna fish for just cans of tuna fish for like 2 years. And deal with it. The reality is we're talking about entrepreneuring, we're talking about startups, we're talking about building businesses. People don't hand you those. That's your entrepreneurship skill at best. My advice is use your instincts, use the elements that you've got around you. If you don't have what it takes to mix those elements to make it work for you and sustain your life, while also giving of yourself into the investment of your intellectual property, your energy, your effort, your productive energy, if you can't balance those two things, no one's going to do it for you. So if somebody comes along the way that's a good angel investor, you should demo your company as often as you can to incoming investors. You should get somewhat familiar with the local startup community and the investment community. You should go out of your way to meet these types of people, but don't spend too much time meeting those types of people. The best way to do it is just think about building a business. Think about getting your community involved in that process. Get them to help buy into your vision for what you want to do, and build a simplistic model in a community environment that lets people contribute. For DeviantArt, for a lot of years, our subscription model wasn't of very much value. Today, it has a lot more value, but in the early days, it was, I like DeviantArt, I want to give you some money, and in exchange for that, yeah, you're going to make my interface a little bit cleaner, but, that's not necessarily why people in the early days bought subscriptions. And I think that was due to successful leadership by myself, by Jark, by Matteo, by the leaders in that community. hopefully that was helpful. Thank you guys for the interview. Appreciate that.